Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I'm going to let folks file in here. I see some of you are still joining in, so I'll give you a moment. Thank you so much for attending. Uh, Anybody wants to engage and just let us know, where you're coming from, you can go ahead and use that in the chat. Don't feel obligated, though. All right. Well, it looks like we've got some people still filing in, but I can definitely start with my part. So thank you for joining our webinar, Enhanced Business Productivity with FieldHub's Integration with Affiliated Monitoring. We're thankful to get this opportunity to talk with you today about this exciting new capability. Before we get into weeds here, I'm going to introduce our speakers, including myself. My name is Gil Almogi. I'm a product manager here at Affiliated, and I manage our portals, apps, and APIs, and various integrations like we'll talk about today. I've been with the company and in the industry for over 5 years now. Next, we have Miles Fawcett, the CEO of FieldHub. Soon, Miles will be sharing everything you need to know about FieldHub and the new integration with our APIs. So very excited to have him. Thank you, Miles. So what is this webinar about? You're going to learn about what FieldHub is and their integration with Affiliated, how FieldHub efficiently manages the complete customer lifecycle from prospecting to recurring monthly revenue billing and recognition, and how you can significantly elevate your business productivity via FieldHub's platform and integration. But before we get into that, for anyone here who is not familiar with affiliated monitoring, I would like to take a few minutes to talk about who we are. Affiliated monitoring is the leading provider of live agent monitoring services and technology. What you see here is not a stock photo, but a picture of our actual 80,000 square foot monitoring center in Union, New Jersey. Affiliated was started more than 45 years ago by Stanley Oppenheim, and we are now under the second generational leadership of his son, Daniel. This is a big differentiator for us because for many of our competitors, they have ownership that is retiring or finishing the race, and they often sell or introduce private equity. With Affiliated, you should know that we have your back and you're in the family for the next 20 to 30 years. Affiliated is fully licensed and credentialed from UL 2050 to being FDNY approved. You can see some of our credentials right here on the screen. And last, I'd like to talk to you about our value pillars. As you get to know us and we get to know you, it's important that we communicate our values, and we have 3 value pillars. One is partnership. Partnership is at the heart of everything we do, and we don't refer to you as our customer or our dealer, but our partner. Business productivity. We believe our partners benefit from enhanced technology, which provides key business insights, streamlined work processes, and reduce false alarms. And we're going to share some technology today that will benefit your business and subscribers. And last, we have growth mindset. We share a core value with our partners to retain our customers, grow our businesses, and increase profitability. We're passionate about helping you grow your business in terms of number of subscribers and new streams of RMR. Business productivity is the key value pillar that we'll be focusing on today. Software like FieldHub is necessary for businesses that need to streamline their processes and continue to move forward, organizing everything your company does and setting you up for success. However, growth mindset is still also key here because FieldHub's integration will reduce double data entry for your employees, keeping them focused on one platform for longer and making daily activity more scalable. So what can you do with FieldHub's integration? You'll be able to create new monitoring accounts with Affiliated, activate and deactivate systems, view account information, zones, and contacts with real-time updates, and place systems on or off tests. And this is only made possible because of our suite of robust APIs. If you have a new product or service that might benefit from the ability to send and receive data, or even alarm signals, you should reach out to us. And how can you reach out to us? Well, After the webinar, you can reach out to Affiliated or FieldHub by reaching out to Bob Januario, our Director of Sales. I have his phone number up there along with an email. If you scan the QR code, that will lead to his email. And for FieldHub, you can reach out to Miles Fawcett, who's right here. His phone number is on the screen with his email, and same thing with his QR code. Now, I will show this slide again at the end of the webinar, but for now, I'm going to let Miles talk more about FieldHub and the new integration. And in case you have any questions that you wanted to ask, you can go ahead and use the Q&A feature on Zoom. We will probably address questions after we're done with our presentations. So with that, Miles, feel free to take over and say hi to our audience.
Okay. Thanks, Gil. Thanks so much. And thank you to Affiliated for hosting this event and also for being a really excellent partner in the integration process. Gil, you and everybody else should be able to see my screen at this point. I'm sure you'll jump in if you can't hear or see me. So I'm going to start with some background on myself and the company, cover the general feature and scope of FieldHub, and then focus on the integration with Affiliated. For an introduction, again, my name is Miles Fawcett. I'm the original founder and the CEO of the company. I started my career in software and application development. I then started a security integration company in Washington, D.C. called Urban Alarm, looked at the software that was available for the industry, having that software development background, and immediately started thinking about how to solve some of the challenges of growing a security integration company using software and technology. So started building FieldHub. I felt like there was a real opportunity, started building FieldHub early in that process, had the opportunity to sell Urban Alarm to one of the SDM 100 companies, and then launched FieldHub as its own company. Our product, while we had been working on it for about a decade, our product came out of beta in 2021, and now our team has grown to over 40 people, and it's very R&D focused as we do new releases to the software generally monthly. So what is it? It's an all-in-one platform for managing the full scope of a security business. It is built for the cloud. So it's a web-based application that people access using a web browser and multi-factor authentication for security. It's built with a deep knowledge of the security integration market from not just myself, but other people who are involved in the company who come from that sector. And it's optimized for medium and large security companies. It is an industry-specific ERP. And so what are the advantages of being industry-specific? It's tailored for some of the unique aspects of our business. And while many aspects of our business are common to others, there are many factors such as the recurring revenue management, managing systems, unique KPIs, so whether that's an RMR roll forward report or industry benchmarking metrics. Those are all something we work internally and work with partners to achieve. Being responsive to industry trends, so as we do feature updates, since all of our customers or the majority of our customers are security and fire integrators and installers, it means that we're pulled to enhancing the product and implementing features that are a benefit to that community, and it's often common to that community. Our integration partners, so this is a great example of our integration with Affiliated. We also work with partners including Astute Financial, OPT, WeSuite, Blackleaf Solutions. So many of the partners that that many folks in this industry already are familiar with. And then we're knowledgeable. So again, not just, so the people that you're working with at FieldHub have a deep knowledge of the security industry. So that gets them a long way in supporting you. FieldHub starts with the CRM, customer relationship management, as leads come into the system. We then create proposals, deliver those to the customers or prospects, manage the process and projects within the system. And a process that we manage could be a proposal, internal proposal, sales engineering review. It could be a permitting process, and we'll touch on that. The scheduling and dispatching, a FieldTech mobile application, which I'll cover, full warehouse inventory management, And it's all built on a foundation of a strong general ledger accounting system with a particular focus on recurring revenue automation, recurring revenue recognition, and then the reports and dashboards to support that, a customer portal as well. So this is an example of a typical dashboard where we log in. As a manager, we can see backlog, installation backlog, RMR backlog, so RMR that's been sold but not yet turned on, dashboards, sales dashboards. In this example, I'm logged in as a user who's managing a series of opportunities or proposals. Building scopes of work, so generally building them from templates, and we provide a lot of tools to accelerate the process of building scopes of work, organizing them into different systems, into different groupings, which might be a phase or an area of a property, a couple of different pricing options, and adding related materials. So we want to support the sales team to create proposals quickly, then delivering those proposals as a PDF. We're inviting prospects and customers into a portal where they can access the details of a scope of work. They can access all the background documentation, data sheets, brochures, anything else which you've included in your library of resources. Notifying the salesperson when somebody accesses a proposal, so there's some real-time notification there. A sales dashboard. So a dashboard, this is just, again, an example of a dashboard where the sales team can see how they're doing in terms of leads, wins, losses. And this is the sort of thing that would go up on a monitor or projector in the office. Once it's set up, it's just going to auto refresh on its own every few minutes. So you can just kind of leave it there and run it as a dashboard. Another example of a dashboard, I mentioned workflows and processes. Again, a workflow that's tracked in FieldHub could really be just about anything. And this is a very typical example of a low voltage permitting process where our customers, they define the phases of a process, the sequence of those phases, and from what phase can I go to what other phases. So you can do kind of branching phases. What are the required or optional checklist items at any of these phases? Next, who's it assigned to? Next action dates. So it's very configurable, and this is just one of many views into a workflow, but it's a good way to track those processes. An example of a work order where we have information about the work order, the status, information about the time spent on site, the number of visits, job costing details. All of these tabs are specific to a work order, so there's a lot of information that's available about a work order. Including, of course, the scope of work, which comes over from the proposal. So once a scope is put on a proposal, that scope follows all the way through to the project work orders, to the invoicing. So there's no duplicate entry there. The original quantities, any revisions, what's been purchased, received, staged, installed, and invoiced. So we're tracking projects all the way through that process. And doing full general ledger-based job costing on these projects. So looking at the original estimate of the proposal, any revisions, where we are to date, easily exportable to Excel sheets, as most of the data in FieldHub is. Tracking WIP or deferred revenue in real time if that's how we're operating. Scheduling, and scheduling can be configured so that we can schedule just service or just fire test and inspect or just one branch or office. So that's all configurable. What work orders are we going to see? What technicians are we going to see? And then looking at an account, just to kind of take a step back, we have information about the account details. We have the financials about the account, so lifetime revenue, deposit, active RMR, open AR, any active projects or service visits, work orders. And then this tab, the opportunity tab, we can see the full sales pipeline as well. So we have a full, complete picture of an account's kind of past financials, current activity, and future pipeline all on a single screen. We do the full inventory management, which I'm just going to kind of touch on and not get into the details, but it supports material being requested, the warehouse, all the functions of a warehouse. So reviewing a request or a bill of materials, generating multiple purchase orders or a single purchase order for multiple jobs, receiving that material, staging that material, The technician then can, we generate labels for the staged material, can scan that bin or that pallet, review the material that's in that bin, accept possession of that material, and install it at the job site through the FieldHub mobile application. So where project management can review a job, and at any point in time, they can see what material is requested, if it's been staged yet, if the technician has that material, and if the technician has it, they can see whether or not they installed it today. All of that information is in real time. Oh, excuse me here, let's go back. So the mobile application is a natively compiled application on both iOS and Android. So it is not a web app, it is a fully functional local native mobile application. It does have an offline model and a mode. So the technicians can continue to work outside of data service. And it does give techs in the field access to project details, PDFs. It tracks their time for both job costing and payroll. And it tracks the movement using the mobile app. They can pick up material from the warehouse and they can install it at the job site. Technicians can also install material from their truck stock. They can capture checklists, which could be approvals, could be project sign-offs. So all of that is supported as well. This is an example of the mobile app where a technician can see their schedule, who they're working with, where they're going, check into a job site. So they might check into travel, they might check into the job site itself, checking in and out on breaks, picking up material from the warehouse that's been staged for a particular job, where they can review that material, accept possession of that material. So there's kind of a chain of custody of all the material all the way through until it's actually installed, both from an inventory management process and from a GL accounting perspective. So they're checked into a job site, checking in out of breaks. Again, we're doing all of the time tracking. We are going to be time stamping all of this. We're also geo-stamping it. So management can go back and see, well, where were they when they checked into the job at 6 a.m. or checked out at 8 p.m. or whatever those timestamps are. They can also see where they were on a map. Access to site information. So details of customer contacts, of kind of work history. Site details can include PDFs and drawings associated with the site, system devices, inspection details and schedules, and then capturing photos of their work, seeing photos of work that's been done on the project previously and reviewing those photos. Managing the installation of material. So the technicians are going to install material, whether that's from staged material or from truck stock or another stock room that they have permission to access. And then the checklist I mentioned, just an example of a training checklist where the technician can review this, get a customer signature. That becomes a part of the work order and it becomes a part of the site record. So 5-6 years later, there's a question we can say, well, when we trained you back then, you acknowledged that you understood you had an ambush code, so let's schedule some follow-on training. So all of that stays with the project throughout the process. And then, of course, checking out, noting work remaining, work performed, estimating the additional work required. And then all of this is going to flow, of course, back into the web interface where we have details of the timestamp and geostamps, all of the photos and media that's captured by all of our technicians on the job site. And we have, again, we're looking at here a site information. We maintain a history of all of the movements of a site from an account to an account. So here, not only can we see that there's that it's associated with the tenant of the property, we can see it's also associated with the property owner. So we can manage those relationships, bill to the correct parties. But we can also see in the account history that it was previously associated with the builder. So we're going to follow the site throughout the entire process. And as we're doing work, installing material, capturing photos, all of that information is going to move from account to account over the natural life cycle of a project. So I'm going to kind of, this normally we would kind of drop in here to the systems and go to the central station integration, but I'm going to kind of skip up and wrap up the overview of FieldHub, and we're going to come back to this so we can focus in on that integration. So the next step, naturally, once we've installed our material, would be to convert this to an invoice. And again, FieldHub is a full payables, receivables accounting system. We convert this work order to an invoice. We're going to go through a few steps, including setting up the recurring billing that was on that original proposal and then on the work order. So here, there's a recurring bill group associated with this account. It has a specific frequency, a specific next bill date. FieldHub can cycle bill 30 days a month. It's all automated. There's no manual intervention. But when we add recurring to an existing bill group, it's going to say, hey, you have a service start date of this. That's 8 days before the next billing date or cycle date. How do you want to handle that proration? And then it gives you a couple options. So it's going to automate that proration. Of course, on the invoice, it's going to be explicit about the prorated periods that are invoiced to the customer. And in addition to automating the proration, FieldHub is also automating all the deferred recurring revenue. So it'll recognize the money in that period or the income in that period. It'll defer the other recurring, and then it'll automatically defer recurring over time. It does recognize it kind of by day, which is particularly useful in the PERS industry where you might be activating and deactivating frequently, and you want to make sure to recognize the right number of days in each of those monthly periods. So that's automated. And then we've created an invoice. The invoice automatically is sent to the customer. We are using collection sequences. So again, this is something else that we automate, is the collection process, where an invoice is generated, a reminder email is generated. If the customer isn't opening those emails and they have a balance due, then FieldHub can roll over to a paper-based invoice that would go through either a batch file in your office or a third party that would print, fold, and mail. If this customer needs a PDF attachment, then that's easy. We just choose that as the default collection sequence for that account, and then everything will have a PDF attachment. And if it's recurring, FieldHub is going to automatically generate the recurring invoice, charge the card or ACH, apply those payments, notify the customer, and then follow these collection sequence. And all of that's automated. There's no batch processing. There's no human intervention in any of that process. So just, again, an example of a general ledger entry. It is a full GL-based system, all the deferred revenue. When we're deferring revenue, we have all the related operations. So on one screen, accounting staff can kind of see the structure of a deferred, of that deferred revenue. In addition to a full set of financial reporting, PL, balance sheet, cash flow, a lot of other reports that are kind of specific to our industry and support those business processes. So now we're kind of back to our site information, and we have the system details here. So when we click into a system, first we can see all the systems on a site. We drill into a particular system. We can see some basic information about that system. We can see the any active work orders, flag notes, inspection schedules, and those into the central station. And right now, Affiliated is our only central station. It's our first one, and we owe a lot of that to how fantastic the team at Affiliated has been in making that happen. So I will share a demo now of that integration here.
We're going to start here from an existing system that's associated with an account, a site, and here we have the intrusion system. Under the Central Station tab, Add New. In this example, we're going to pull prefixes from the Central Station, existing prefixes and receivers. We're going to pull in the information from the FieldHub account and site. We can specify a panel type. If this account already existed at the Central Station, we could then link it from here, but in this case we're going to create it new. So now we're reaching out to the Central Station, creating that account, and then linking the Central Station account with the FieldHub system. Here's the account we've created. Again, we can see here the information from the account name, the site information. When we return to the system, we can see that it is now linked to the Central Station account that was created. Clicking in, it's going to show us the account, the status, it's currently inactive. The zones and contacts are being pulled directly from the Central Station. We can click directly into the Central Station Management page from here. At this point in the Central Station software, we can add zones, we can add contacts. Under contacts, we'll add a contact information. We've added a contact, returning to the FieldHub interface, and we'll refresh the page. At this point, we're retrieving the information in real time. We can see the zones that we just created. We can see the contact that we just created. The system is still showing as inactive, so at this point we can activate the account. We can see that the account has been activated at the Central Station. And we can create a test. The test is available in the Test tab. We can view it in the system, and we can confirm that the system is on test with the Central Station. System on test. And through FieldHub, we can clear the test. And the test is cleared.
So I also, a big part of how we determine our roadmap is based on customer feedback. Our customer feedback is extremely important to us. And just to give you a sense of how one of our customers is using this integration, one of our mutual customers is using this integration, I'll share some feedback from a customer.
We were originally in the Sedona office software. We transferred or converted over to the FieldHub. It was December of 2022. Probably the best decision we've made in the 8 years I've been in this company. But since we have moved over to FieldHub and have had the integration with our current company, Affiliated Monitoring, it has been really smooth. Setting up the accounts is literally 2 clicks. It is, and everything pulls over. Now I have one software where I can go in, put the system in test. And while they have me on the phone, they need an answer for an invoice. So I don't have to jump between software and software. Made customer service so much smoother. It has been quite a blessing for us. You know, usually our first calls in the morning are to put the system in test. Then while I have them on the phone, I can, schedule their fire alarm inspection. I can answer any invoicing questions. If they have questions on the call list, blammo, that's all right there. I don't have to flip-flop softwares. If they have questions, if a technician has a question on its own list, I can help them with that. Yeah, it's really been full circle. It's been kind of a hub to connect us. The customer service has gone up, just being more efficient with the customer service, happier customers, happier employees. So, thank you to FieldHub and the team, for making that happen. It has been awesome. Super awesome.
And just to thank our Marie and American Alarms and our customer, I'm not sure the integration would have happened as quickly as it did without their enthusiasm and encouragement and really raising their hand and saying, hey, this is really important to us and would make a difference for us. And that's really what's going to drive our roadmap and our improvements. So just to kind of close out on what our process is, we start all of our implementations with a sandbox pilot. This is where our people who are seriously considering FieldHub would work with a project manager on our team. We would deliver a dedicated FieldHub environment that's fully functional, that company can create as many users as they like. And they work with one of our project managers who comes from the industry, from the security industry, and understands the security business, to do training on that sandbox, to do regular check-ins, to answer questions, and really make sure it's the right fit for your company. It's important to us that it be a good partnership from the beginning, that it be a good fit, and that all the expectations are clear and set. So we go through the sandbox pilot. If it is a good fit, then we move forward. And generally, it's a 90-day process to implement FieldHub from the time kind of sign off and provide that initial information. However, it can theoretically, it has gone shorter, but generally for companies that are maybe more complex or have to do data cleanup, have a lot of integrations that need to be managed, it can also be, of course, longer than that. And then we go through a process of going live and then a regular check-in throughout that process. So if anybody has any questions for us, it'd be great to, you can just submit them in the QA box. There are a few questions. So somebody asks, does FieldHub support accounts payable and banking? And the answer is yes. FieldHub is a full payables, receivable accounting system. All of the payables is integrated with inventory. So when we create a purchase order, receive that material, pay that invoice, all of those processes are fully integrated with inventory. And yes, it is full banking. So that includes the ability for FieldHub to import credit card and banking transactions that have been exported from your bank. They can be imported, matched if they exist in FieldHub. FieldHub can do check printing. And so another question is, does FieldHub currently have any PERS companies using their platforms? I don't believe we have any that are exclusively PERS companies, although we do have many who where PERS is a component of their business. And my previous company did a lot of PERS work, and so we are thinking about the requirements. And I think I alluded to one earlier in the presentation where we do the recognition on a per day basis. So if something's activated on the 25th, we're going to recognize 5 days of that recurring revenue in that month. If it's terminated the 15th of the next month, then we'll recognize the 15 days. So we do break out the recognition in that way. The question is there a DocuSign similar function? So we are working on that currently. I don't believe that it'll be DocuSign, but we will provide integrated e-signing functionality so that a customer or prospect can come to the portal, review a scope, accept it, and then e-sign the general terms of service on the package right there through the portal. So a question is existing information links between the systems. I'm not sure I fully understand that. We do, yeah, maybe you could get in touch with me with more information. There is no information link currently between FieldHub and the panels. You know, this is kind of what we're doing with this integration, this new integration with Affiliated is creating that data flow. And over time, we will be adding other integrations with DMP SecureCom, with Alarm.com, with other central stations to create that data flow. So what does a migration process look like? It's going to depend a lot on where you're coming from. We are able to import data from some industry-specific applications where we're doing many migrations. Those include Alarm Biller, Sedona Office, and MicroKey. So I know those three. We are able to take an export of that data, import it into to FieldHub. You can email me or set up a meeting, and I can go through exactly what that looks like. And we, again, kind of depending on the time of year, depending on how complex your environment is, our workload, those migrations can be as fast as 90 days. And we've done many kind of in that time frame. So about financial reporting and trial balance. So sorry, next question. What about financial reporting, trial balances, balance sheet, income statements, and fixed assets? So we do have the full financial statement reporting. We do not have a module for fixed asset tracking. We do have customers who work with Astute Financial, and we've collaborated with them pretty extensively to make sure that they have all the access to the data they need. We've done some updates to our data structures to support them so that they can provide not only the financial reporting, the budgeting that they do, but also some of the benchmarking for some of the groups like Sonatrol and Net1. Next question is, what about exporting information from FieldHub? So yes, there are many different places to export just about every type of data. Those are exports as like export all the accounts, export all the proposals, export all the payments. So all of that's available that just exports into an Excel sheet or into a CSV file. And we also provide for some of our customers, we can provide nightly backups of all of their data. The next question is, what about QuickBooks integration? We do not have a QuickBooks integration. We replace QuickBooks. So some of the job costing reports I showed, some of the deferred revenue management, the WIP, the RMR automation. So all of that, especially the job costing, all of that is contingent on payables as well as receivables, all of that being in FieldHub so we can track those expenses. So FieldHub does fully replace QuickBooks. There are some features that QuickBooks has that we don't have, and I'm happy to go through that with you. I mean, it's, with most systems, it's largely better, but there's some trade-offs, which I'm happy to be very transparent about. We do have some customers who use QuickBooks, and the process for them would be, generally they would do their receivables in FieldHub and inventory management, and then they would do end of month or end of period journal entries in QuickBooks to correct their balance sheet. There's another question. Oh, the question is just shuffled on me. Let's see. Okay. So the question is, we're going live with FieldHub in October. We have thousands of accounts with affiliated. Will only new accounts integrate? No. So there is a way through the interface that we went through where you can create a system in FieldHub and then you can link that to an existing account at affiliated. With 7,000 accounts, talk to your project management, your implementation team about the process for linking them in batch. I don't know if that's, this is a new integration, so I don't know exactly if we can do that and what the process would be, but yes, you can link existing accounts, absolutely. Another question about e-sign.
If I may jump in for the person who asked that question, definitely reach out to your partner success manager, and perhaps we can all work in tandem to make sure that you get the best experience once you go live.
Yeah, thank you. Another question about the e-sign functionality. It's very important. When will this be available? Right now, we expect it to be available around the end of the year. And certainly that would line up with the implementation time. So if you work with us on an implementation side, we can give you a specific date and make sure that any functionality like that we're committing to is in place before you go live. And how does support work? Is it by email, and what's the turnaround time for a response? So I have a slide for this in my full presentation. Support, we have a standard tier and an enterprise tier. The enterprise is more expensive, and I'm happy to go through that with anybody. In the standard tier, we have a contractual, in our contract is that we're going to respond, I believe, within 3 business days for standard requests and same day for emergency requests. On our enterprise tier, it's 2 days for standard requests and it's 4 hours 24/7 for emergency requests. And those are the minimums that we have in our contract. The communication is generally by email or support ticket. In the application, there's a support window where our customers can open support tickets. But if you speak to our customers, I think you'll generally hear that we're even more responsive to that, and that the team is very responsive, certainly with any critical issue. And while we generally will open support tickets by email and prefer email for tracking that, we get on the phone or get on a Zoom with our customers all the time. So I think, we're a newer company. We're very responsive to our customers. So another question: will our staff be able to view account history and activity from FieldHub? So I assume you mean a central station or affiliated account history. Certainly within FieldHub, you can view all kinds of history about kind of proposals, work orders, time. So there's a ton of different activity and history that is in FieldHub. I don't know that we really delete anything. Things can be archived, but we're tracking a lot of data. In terms of what you can see at affiliated, no, you cannot see account history or activity currently. This is our first kind of pass at this integration, and we will continue to add to it based on feedback from customers and what they prioritize.
And we're excited to have you continue working on it.
Yeah. And then the last question that's been, well, not the last, let's see. So the question about will our e-sign work with affiliated agreements? I don't know the answer to that. We would have to understand better what agreements, but I don't see why not. It works with kind of Kirschenbaum type agreements, and people could kind of put whatever agreements they want. And then another question: do we have a free trial option? No, we don't. We have the this pilot sandbox, where we deliver a dedicated environment with test data, so not your data. It is not free. We charge $495 for this 30-day pilot. And we spend a lot of time training and meeting with people. Again, it's a very comprehensive and complex system. So we don't want to just say, here's a login and good luck. We want to spend the time with project management to do training and answer questions that inevitably come up, and really make sure it's a good fit. If people do the sandbox and it's not a fit for whatever reason, or maybe it's not a fit right now, then there's no further commitment. If they do move forward with the implementation, then we credit that $495 towards whatever implementation costs they have. We spend a lot more than $495 worth of time and resources to support this, but we want to do the pilot with anybody who is really interested and seems to be a good fit. But we want to put the time in there to make sure that all the questions are answered and that it is a good fit. So it's not free. Another question: can we put about the integration with affiliated? Can you put a system on test from the mobile app? Not currently, although that is kind of on our list of kind of features that it has not been prioritized. So I can't give you a date, but yeah, we do expect that that'll be available at some point. So I think we're in good shape on time. It's been a good time, and I really appreciate everybody coming in and participating. Please feel free to reach out to me if you'd like to schedule a deeper conversation, get more details on pricing or process. I'd be happy to share that. And again, Gil, thank you so much for hosting this, and to Affiliated for hosting it, and for all the work you've done in putting it all together. I really do appreciate that.
Yeah, so I went ahead and I'll share our how you can learn more after the webinar. Again, if you want to reach out to Affiliated to learn more about our services or about our APIs, please reach out to Bob Januario, Director of Sales. That's his number. That QR code under his name, it will link you to be able to start an email right from your phone. And for FieldHub, we had Miles Fawcett and his information. That QR code will set you up to send an email right from your phone as well. Thank you everybody for attending and for engaging us. Thank you, Miles, for taking the time out to promote this partnership for us. We're definitely excited, obviously, about things to come. And yeah.
So are we, yeah.
Yeah. So
thanks, Gil.
But overall, thank you all very much for attending. the webinar recording will be made available to you soon, and we look forward to engaging with you in the future. So have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.